Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, we'll take a look at some of the top teams in Dade County, like the Jackson Generals. And in Broward County, Mark Guandolo leads Cypress Bay back onto the field. Our recruiting segment takes a look at the wide receivers. And we'll have our big game previews, including Norland and Columbus. All of that and much more on the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. as we come to you from Burger Fi in Weston, right in the heart of Weston. We're going to get to all the high school action coming up. Don Bailey Jr., what's on your menu tonight?
Well, first of all, it's the apple chicken dog, Joe. And trust me, you know me, very finicky, but I'm on that chicken dog. Had it last week, and I'll have to make a confession. It didn't make it home. I was taking it home for dinner. I ate it on the way home.
I'm going to go right to the dessert, the concrete. I love it. The key lime pie concrete. How about the red velvet concrete?
That's my favorite.
I made my own the other day. Chocolate marshmallow.
There you go.
Absolutely delicious. All right, here's what's on our menu. We're going to take a look at some of the top teams in Dade and Broward County. Starting in Dade County, we have the Jackson Generals coming off a really tough game this past week on Thursday night. They took on Booker T. Washington. Jackson this season, as the season unfolds, will be led by their quarterback, Quentin Flowers. He's a really good one.
He really is, Joe. People around the country are zooming in on him. They think that he's a top-tier talent, a Division I prospect. He gives you the ability to run. He's got a good arm. His touchdown-to-interception ratio is great. And he's got the advantage of having a head coach that played in D1 football at West Virginia and also has an NFL experience where he played with the Buffalo Bills.
A year ago, Flowers threw for 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns, 642 yards. He ran for 9 touchdowns, so a dual-threat quarterback. You mentioned Antonio Brown, the head coach there. He also does a really good job of mentoring those kids.
Well, he does, Joe. He went through the whole system. He understood what it took for him to go through high school and prepare himself for a Division I scholarship at West Virginia. He goes to West Virginia, has an outstanding career there, and then gets the opportunity to go to the National Football League. So the coaching that he got along the way, the preparation that he learned, and the understanding of the game, he's able to mentor these high school kids, and they're getting some of the best education that they can get from their head coach.
Jackson has to go through that gauntlet in Miami-Dade County. Coach Brown thinks that will make them a tougher team. He says if you can stand with them, you can play with anybody.
Well, and you certainly can. And then you throw in, as we're talking about, Booker T as well. But it all works itself out. The winner of Dade and Broward County, usually things get a little easier in the playoffs, and that's hard to believe that you would say something like that.
Jackson is in 16-5A. They'll kick off the month of October with a monster matchup against American Heritage. Let's go up to Broward County. Cypress Bay, the Lightning, their head coach, Mark Guandolo, had an unfortunate incident a couple of weeks ago, but you have to judge him on his body of work in his career. This is one of the premier coaches in the entire state of Florida.
Listen, Joe, I believe that he is one of the premier coaches in the history of the state of Florida. I have met his student athletes for many, many years. Everyone that plays for him represents him, the staff, the team, and that school at the highest level. And I'm going to tell you the true story. I met a group of his kids a few years ago at a mentoring program, and I was sat at their table. I was so impressed with them, I went back to my office and wrote a note to Coach Guandolo telling them how proud I was of his students. And nothing has changed. He's an outstanding coach and has dedicated his life to this sport.
They played for the state championship a year ago, came up a little bit short in an unbelievable game. This year, a little bit of a rebuilding project, replacing the quarterback in the center and a running back, but you know they're going to be really good eventually on offense.
Well, that's what happens. You know, you lose those key components, as you mentioned, from last year. It takes you a little while to get going. And then they had a little setback with Coach not being there as well. So now you have to restart this thing a little bit and give it time. Believe me, towards the end of the season, you'll see what this offense is meant to be.
Let's go back to Miami-Dade County. We're going to go back. We're going to be nostalgic here. Miami Springs. They were a great power in the 70s under Coach Goins, and they are getting it going a little bit more now this year.
They are, Joe, and you talk about back in the day when we played against Miami Springs, they were one of the top teams in the state. Coach Goins, as you mentioned, did a fantastic job there. They always were able to find talent in that part of the section between the Hialeah, Carroll City, Hialeah, Miami Lakes area. They had a special breed of talent, and now they're starting to get it going again, and that school could explode if it just gets a few key guys.
You got a running game going there, gets them over 100 yards a game, and if you had a running game in Miami-Dade County, you got a chance.
Well, you certainly do, especially if you're able to hit that 100-yard mark consistently. So far they have. The schedule's going to get tougher, and if they are able to rely on that segment of the offense, good things will happen.
All right, a good look at some of the teams in Dade and Broward County. As always, some great games this past weekend. Now here's Joe Rose with all the highlights.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Well, a big game Friday night of two undefeated teams. Here we go. A big high school battle in Broward County, St. Thomas Aquinas and Miramar. Aquinas up 10-0 in the first until quarterback Nick Genty calls his own number, bringing the Patriots within a field goal. Raiders down 3 in the third now. Wade Freeback goes up top to Devontae Pete. St. Thomas back on top, 17-13. They tack on a field goal, but David Lee gets 2 points back, making a tackle in the end zone for the safety. Miramar down 20-15 in the fourth quarter. Now, late in regulation, Patriots retake the lead for good. Cameron Rigby goes right up the middle for the go-ahead touchdown. Miramar wins this one 22-20, the final, beating St. Thomas Aquinas for the third straight year.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by the U.S. Army, Tico People's Gas, The Chamber, Metro PCS, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Broward Health, BurgerFi in Weston, Vitamin Shop, and 560 QAM.
A few years ago, I decided to push myself further. College, graduate school, degrees in aeronautics and engineering. And I learned that being my best means getting the best from everyone around me. Becoming an Army officer taught me to set high objectives and quickly rise to meet them. Kinda like a rocket.
An Army officer learns to reach new heights and inspires others to do the same. Can you? Find out at goarmy.com/officer.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
The recruiting segment is brought to you by Metro PCS, wireless for all.
Back on the South Florida High School Football Show, Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We're at BurgerFi in Weston, in the heart of Weston, on Weston Road, an unbelievable new restaurant. Don Bailey Jr., the finest cheeseburgers you'll find anywhere, the Texas-style chili cheese dog, right up your alley.
It is, Joe, but you also have to remember, I'm a French fry guy, and I love the fries. They have them with Parmesan cheese, herb, then, of course, cheese, however you want them. The best thing is they're full, they're hearty, they're tasty, and no grease.
I think we're going to have a little sample before the show is out.
You think?
I
Yes.
think so. I think
Yes.
so. We move into our recruiting segment with Larry Bluestein, and this week Old Blue is going to talk about some of the top wide receivers in Dade and Broward County, and that is always an area that is highly recruited, and now more than ever because everybody's throwing the football.
It's amazing, Joe, what you see is happening now in high school football and college football. But all of these receivers now, some of these guys used to play on the defensive side of the football. Now with the 7-on-7 camps, they want to touch the football. So everybody's slimming down that was a tight end to be a tall, thin, rangy receiver. The shorter guys are able to get in there and do the mix with those short, choppy steps and explosiveness. But receiver is a position of need around the country. Everybody's attracted here, and South Florida is full of talent at the wide receiver spot.
All right, you get some French fries on my Metro PCS LG Optimus F3. I'm going to dial up Larry Bluestein, find out who the future Canes, Gators, and Seminoles are. Old Blue, let's talk about those wide receivers.
Well, Joe and Don, we talk about quarterbacks in South Florida, tremendous. We also talked about running backs. This may be as good a year. What about wide receiver? I can't remember so many quality wide receivers, and we could start in Dade County with somebody, guys, who everybody's probably thinking is one of the best, Erman Lane. If you had a chance to watch him in the Kickoff Classic, you'll understand what everybody's talking about. Straight line speed, will go up for the ball. This is a big-time prospect. Homestead has him. They've had him for the last 4 years. They've utilized him in every single way. He was part of that Richmond Giant youth football team at one time that really did some tremendous things. Speaking about tremendous things, a little under the radar, Steve Ishmael from North Miami Beach. His brothers have done real well. He's a bigger version. He's 6'2½", almost 6'3". But here's the thing. Not only is he a tremendous wide receiver, but he also plays cornerback. He'll play safety. He'll do anything that they need. And this is a quality receiver because he's got great hands. He stretches the field as good as anybody. And the last one is a guy who I can classify as a running back or a defensive back, but he'll catch a lot of balls from Northwestern, and that's Joseph JoJo Robinson. Came out of Youth Football League, guys, as one of the heralded running backs. All of a sudden, they moved him to defense. They moved him to the slot. You watch. This kid's going to have a big year, and I think he's going to have a bigger year than most people think. He's on his way to Florida State. I know they penciled him in kind of at a cornerback position. Moving to Broward County, there's 3 top ones. First of all, Corey Holmes out of St. Thomas Aquinas. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to watch him, but this is a guy who definitely stretches the field. On his way to Notre Dame, he's had 2 great years, finished off the 2012 season very strong in the state championship game. If you remember, had an outstanding game. One of the surprise players, everybody's seen him already, so he's not going to be much of a surprise, but he was at North Broward Prep, an exceptionally quick kid by the name of Chris Taylor. He's at University School now. The thing that makes Chris Taylor valuable to that team is he's going to be the go-to guy to stretch the field. They have their slot guys, they have the guys that throw underneath with, but somebody like Chris Taylor has the speed. He's on his way to Duke, so he's got the intelligence. This is a kid that really is going to get off and do some great things. And one of my favorites, a guy who has a chance, his ceiling is so high, out of Cardinal Gibbons, Trevon Lee. If you've watched him play, and I have for the last 2 years, this is an explosive receiver who could either play the outside or play the slot. He causes a lot of problems. If you understand, guys, how much talent, I mean, these 6 guys that I mentioned to you from Dayton Broward, I think kind of chips the iceberg this year, because wide receiver, this may be as talented as it's been in years.
Here's how you can help Larry Bluestein in his fight against kidney disease. You can send your donation or support to Our Boy Blue Foundation, P.O. Box 3181, Hollandale 33009. In addition, if anyone would test as a living organ donor for Larry or anyone else, please contact Jackson Memorial Hospital at 305-355-5194.
The South Florida Chevy dealers will be recognizing outstanding educators and handing out $4,000 in donations. Help us by nominating a high school teacher for the 2013 South Florida Chevy Dealers High School Teacher of the Year Award. Chevy will award a crystal trophy to 1 teacher in each county, plus each teacher's school wins a $2,000 general donation. Visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com to learn how to nominate a teacher for consideration. We're accepting nominations until January 17th. The winners will be announced February 5th.
Welcome to the Chamber Sports Performance Minute. Steve is going to take us through today's segment.
Here today at the Chamber Fitness, we're going to talk about core strength. Biggest misconception is a lot of people do forward flexion, lateral flexion, and what you really want to be working on is transverse abdominis, or from one end to the other. You want to be able to build a solid base, being able to rotate the upper body. The first movement pattern we're going to show you to be able to become stable is a tall kneeling. Go ahead. He's trying to fire his core, fire his glutes, try to stay as maintained, as stacked as possible. Second movement pattern, called half kneeling. He's going to be almost like he's envisioning he's on a surfboard. At the same time, he's trying to stay as stacked as he can on this side without rotating or hiking his right hip over. And then the third one is the split stance. Now he's got to be able to stabilize his hips, at the same time also stabilizing his upper body. That is true core strength, and this is what's going to help you generate more power when you run and increase your speed.
For more information or to contact us, visit chamberfitness.com.
The South Florida High School Football Show is also on Facebook at sfhsfs, and you can follow us on Twitter at hsfball and Instagram at sfhsfs. You'll receive weekly updates from our insiders, news, announcements, and game day scoring updates from all over South Florida, plus deals and offers from our partners.
For outdoor projects large or small, avoiding buried utility lines is more than food for thought.
What happened?
know what's below. You or your contractor should always call 811 before you dig. Utilities will mark your lines for free. Brought to you by Tico People's Gas.
Broward Health is good at keeping muscles and joints in motion and out of pain. So good, they treat some of the nation's top athletes. So good, they've been selected to perform joint replacements on retired players. And so good, they handle more ortho cases and perform more joint replacements than anyone else in Broward. So if you're a senior with joint pain or an injured athlete of any age, trust the team Ryan Tannehill trusts.
Broward Health, powerful medicine.
The Coaches segment is brought to you by BurgerFi in Weston, all natural.
Welcome back, everybody, to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We're at BurgerFi here in Weston. They've got everything inside this restaurant. I love the cheeseburgers, but how about the soda machine? We have this high-tech soda machine over here. You can get about 100 different flavors.
I can see that, Joe. We've got an orange one, we've got green ones, we've got yellow ones, you got pink one, anything you want to drink to go with the best food in town.
You hit the Sprite dial, and then you get grape Sprite, or you get lemon Sprite, or you get orange Sprite.
But you're just a Sprite, too.
Same with
Sprite.
Right, so you had it's a multi-flavored soda machine. Unbelievable. And, of course, don't forget the great desserts, which we will get to as soon as this show is over. Let's move into one of the top coaches in Dade County. We're going to talk about Tim Harris, who's standing by. Booker T. Washington, we mentioned earlier, had a big game. Well, they have a big game every week, but they just had a big game this week against Jackson. Tim Harris, his third year, second stint at Booker T, has done a marvelous job.
The amazing thing is that he has returned Booker T with this much power and this much prominence so quick. They went up to Norcross, Georgia, and slaughtered that team. They have just done an outstanding job. They're nationally ranked. But I don't think that's really the story about Coach Harris and Booker T. I think there's more to it than that. He is dedicated to his community. He's dedicated to these children. He's dedicated to the student athlete, and he's dedicated to Booker T. He has made a difference in that community, not only on the football field, but also off of it.
Looking to go back-to-back state titles. Tim Harris standing by with our Chris Chambers. Chris?
Thanks, guys. Coach, you guys are one of the top teams in the nation. How have your team been able to handle the high expectation this season?
They just keep working, you know, trying to make sure that we continue to keep getting better as student athletes and continue to train in terms of where we're trying to go. And basically, we're trying to make sure that our kids are college ready. They want to be college ready. So if they continue to do the hard work that comes with it, that's what we will need to be at the end.
Now, this offseason, I'm sure there was a lot of talk about you guys being preseason ranked. How have the guys been able to take that and build upon it this offseason? What kind of program did you put together for the guys?
We just tried to make sure we went out and went to a lot of different colleges around the country, trying to get some things that can help us in the weight room, some part of the conditioning. In fact, even from the warm-ups part of everything, where our kids can learn how to warm up properly and get those muscles ready to be able to compete at the higher level and be able to give maximum effort every play. So we've been adding a lot of pieces from different things around the country that at this point really help us gain ground, because we're a track-based program and we do a lot of things off of running, because we feel like if I got a lot of gas in the tank, my car can keep running.
Now, is that the same philosophy for the offense and the defense?
Both, offense, defense, and special teams. We got a fast tempo in terms of all the phases of the game. We tried to make sure that we understand the concept, the old Jimmy Johnson philosophy of fatigue make cowards of us all. So we tried to make sure that we have everything in the tank. So when that fourth quarter comes, that's when it all comes out to see what teams are in the best condition. That's what we want to be in.
Now, Coach, your son, starting quarterback, how does that feel, man? You got your son leading the team of this nature and going and doing some of the things that you've been able to see him do his entire career.
That's awesome right there, to be able to watch your kid develop, you know, through the years. But I've been blessed for all of my sons to be able to play for me in high school, and that's a great blessing. But Teron is developing well. This is his senior year. His ability to lead is really coming into play now. And those are things that are going to help this team continue to do the things that we need to do, you know, with him and the rest of the senior leadership.
All right. Nickname Ice. What's the story behind that?
George Gervin. I'm a basketball guy growing up. It's something that I grew up playing. I was the finger roll guy back in the day. So that kind of stuck with me all the way through middle school, and that's where Ice comes from.
Thanks, Coach. All right. There you have it. Coach Ice Harris keeping opponents cool this season. Hopefully the guys will go out for the national championship. Thank you.
Don't forget to check out SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, where you'll get recruiting overviews powered by Larry Bluestein, a review of the top 20. We'll preview the top games in Dade and Broward County. We'll catch you up on Shaquille Jackson's blog and game recaps. You can nominate candidates for the Player of the Year and for the High School Teacher of the Year. Catch any of this season's TV shows you may have missed, plus a whole bunch more.
Tico Peoples Gas is awarding the Player of the Year award to one player in Miami-Dade and one player in Broward. To nominate a player, visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Tico Vote Here icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. The players take home a beautiful crystal trophy, and the schools that vote the most receive a $500 donation. The winners will be announced during our National Signing Day TV show on February 5th.
Time now for our Broward Health Injury Report with Dr. George Caldwell. Dr. Caldwell treats both the pros and the high school players. We're going to talk about labrum injuries. Let's talk a little bit about what is a labrum injury.
The labrum is the rubbery lining of the joint where the ligament's attached, and sometimes when the arm is torqued in the wrong direction, it can be torn.
And then if it is, surgery could be required.
Yeah, it requires an exam in the office, sometimes an x-ray and MRI. The smaller tears can sometimes be treated with rehab, but some of the larger tears lead to recurrent dislocations or instability and require surgery.
What kind of rehab is a person with a labrum injury looking at?
Sometimes it's physical therapy with a directed rotator cuff program and avoiding provocative maneuvers.
Why do we see the labrum injury in high school players?
The high school players are exposed to certain wrenching arm movements, and then sometimes there's overuse injury in the overhead athletes, such as volleyball or baseball.
Now, we're seeing more and more overuse injuries, aren't we?
Yeah, we see a lot of them. The kids are playing year-round now, same sport and specialized, so we see a lot more of those.
All right, Doc, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Dr. George Caldwell with us and our injury report.
Hi, I'm Laura Dermidges with this week's U.S. Army All-American Bowl nominees. First up is Chad Thomas from Booker T, Washington. Thomas is tall, very tall, coming in at 6'5" and just shy of 230 pounds. This athletic pass rusher knows not only how to come around the edge for a sack, but make a tackle anywhere on the field. Thomas has accumulated over 120 tackles since starting his sophomore year. The future looks bright for Chad as he is fielding offers from FSU, LSU, and Miami. Second up, Anthony Motton from St. Thomas. Unlike the other defensive tackles highlighted above, Motton's key strength isn't necessarily taking down the QB, but stopping the run. This DT stacks the charts at 6'4", 265 pounds, and not only has the vision to track the ball, he also has the strength to make a play on it. Motton has verbally committed to Florida at the moment, but that isn't stopping the likes of Alabama and Florida State from convincing him to coming to their programs. Last up is Casey McDermott out of Palm Beach Central. This offensive lineman is considered by most a top prospect. Casey has been a Miami Hurricanes fan his whole life, so it's no surprise that he's accepted his commitment there. Casey loves the idea of blocking for the Canes' rising star, Duke Johnson.
At Metro PCS, we believe in the power of the period. It keeps you from spending too much on wireless. Unlimited data, talk, and text. $40, period. Everything you want. Even the taxes and fees are rolled right in. $40, period. On a nationwide 4G network, no annual contract, $40, period. That's period power. Everything you want, $40, period. Only at Metro PCS.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
Welcome back to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki, Don Bailey Jr. We're at Burger Fi. We have a new member of the team.
That's right, Francisco.
Francisco is here.
So...
We have a lot of food. Hold on, I'll tell you when. We have a lot of food here. All right. So this is the bad burger.
Yes.
What's on there?
There's fried egg, there's lettuce. No, there's fried egg, bacon, maple syrup, hash brown, and 2 patties with Swiss cheese.
Breakfast all day. right? Breakfast all day. Over here is Don Bailey's favorite. What is this?
The veggie burger. It comes with 5 sauce, less tomato, and the quinoa. Popular veggie burger at BurgerFi Weston.
Key lime concrete right here.
Yes, it is. And look at this. You ready?
But the best part about this, not 1 calorie. None. You eat the whole thing, you gain no weight. Lisa guarantees that.
Red velvet. Don't touch that one. All right, Francisco, good job. Stay right here. We got a game to do. All right, our broadcast game on WQAM. Norland and Columbus should be quite a game. North against the South. Mike Levine has a preview.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Our game of the week this week will take place in North Miami, Columbus and Norland. Columbus, of course, they're always smarting after a big win, and they did so against their arch rival, Belen, 37-0 a couple of weeks back. Norland, meanwhile, they can't get their offense going. It's the second year without Duke Johnson, and it shows. Norland's defense is still very good under Darrell Heidelberg, but they're going to need a lot of points to beat Columbus in North Miami. That's our game of the week, Columbus, Norland. We look forward to bringing it to you. Joe, Don, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. This should be a whale of a game in Broward County. Boyd Anderson and University School. The Suns continue to take on all comers. You know, Boyd Anderson's very athletic, and University School is loaded across the board.
They are. It's going to be a big ball game, and you're going to learn a lot about both of these teams. University School, as you mentioned, it's got a ton of talent. They can score a lot of points. They play anybody and everybody at any given time.
University School, led by their quarterback, Sean White, Division I prospect, can run a little bit, but he's got a big arm.
Yeah, he really does, Joe. He really shined at the camps, and he's shown his arm. He's shown his ability to guide an offense, and he makes good decisions when he's put under pressure.
All right, our last game is a game your father would enjoy. This is an old school game. This is Edison against Jackson. Earlier in the show, we talked about Jackson. They had a big game against Booker T, so they're coming off an emotional game. They got to get ready to go against Edison. Edison always seems to have really good athletes as well.
They certainly do. The Red Raiders have been very good over all these years. And you talk about a game, Joe, this is a 50s game. They used to fill the Orange Bowl with this game. Now you've got Edison, a team that has been consistent, but they have not been what they were in the past. But they do put a good product on the field week in and week out.
All right, so that's a good look at some of the big games coming up next week in Dade and Broward County. I'm ready to go with my key lime concrete.
You're not taking mine, Joe. Okay, you got your own. I'm taking mine.
All right, come on out here to BurgerFi in Weston. You can enjoy some of this delicious food, great dessert. Come on out for the company as well. Here in Weston, beautiful Weston at BurgerFi. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next week right here on the South Florida High School Football Show.
The South Florida High School Football Show has been brought to you by the U.S. Army, Tico Peoples Gas, The Chamber, Metro PCS, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Broward Health, BurgerFi in Weston, Vitamin Shop, and 560 QAM.
Are you ready? Yes, sir. Are you ready? Yes, sir. Move. Nobody plays 48 like us. Let me hear you say you. Let me hear you say you. It's Metro Prime Time. Yo. Metro Show Time. Yo. Metro Game Time. Yo. Metro Show Time. Yo. Metro Prime Time. Yo. Metro Show Time. Yo. Let's go. Let's make it. Why don't you work?